Welcome back. Another episode of the podcast. Right, let's talk about it. For far too long, I've actually been playing a lot of defense versus offense with my health and fitness. And I want to explain to you and help you get away from or just playing defense with your health and fitness journey. Now, there's two peaks and two mountains that you go on during your health and fitness journey. You've got your first peak, which is peak here. That's your first ever embark on a fitness journey. It's all about the benefits of that. I want to get over there. I want to do this. I want to do that. I want to be amazing. Do. It gets to the top, and then either you maintain that and that's good, or it comes crashing down and you end up going back into the valley of where you were before. And then on the second mountain, you end up not wanting to regain your weight back as the major reason why you do that part of the journey. So you go up the mountain a little bit more cautiously than you did last time, and you do things a little bit differently, and then you end up going up that second mountain and hopefully onwards and upwards from there. And everyone goes through these two mountains. Very rarely do people actually finish their diet on the first attempt, especially most people that are in their 20s. They end up doing dieting a bit during university, or in their 20s they go on a bit of a keto diet, something like that. It's normally their first diet that normally hit home the hardest and exposes them to not keeping their weight off forever. And some people actually go through years of mountains of attempts that it becomes very much defensive minded, or not like the first time. If you remember the first ever diet that you went on, there was some level of novelty and excitement around it, and it's all about, I can't wait to be 10 kilos down for this thing or that thing, or I can't wait to get there and I'm going to get 10 kilos down for it, and there's optimism with it. And as you go down through your attempts of years and years and years, you end up becoming a little bit more jaded towards the process of like, tried this before, it hasn't worked, I've become skeptical, I know it's me, I don't know if I'm motivated enough, I don't know if I'm this, I don't know if I'm that, and it ends up being defensive. I don't know if I can, I don't know if I should, I don't know what I'm doing wrong, I don't know how to do this without failing, and it becomes defensive. Now, I realized that, if you look at Autonomy, it's all about the defense. It's all about helping you get in shape and then stay in shape forever, never gain your weight back, never need a coach, all these nevers. And sorry, I've got my little stress ball here, been told to use it by my therapist instead of vaping, so we're seeing how that goes. So you end up playing a lot of defense, and I think I want to teach you how to play offense with your health and fitness, because you shouldn't be always playing defense or worrying about the past or behind you for the next 20-30 years. And in fact, anything, you want a more positive experience. If you're playing defense, you're always up against it, it's always stress, it's always pressure. If you ever played defense, and if you look at basketball, you got 5 players, you're protecting the basket, you don't want them to score, as opposed to offense is you're doing the scoring, you're doing the moves, you're advancing, you're moving forwards, which is always the best way. And as they always say, offense is the best defense. You don't want to always be back against the wall. There's lots of people that I know that are in their 30s, 40s and 50s constantly doing things to never regain their weight back. That is overly aggressive because of the fear of gaining their weight back. For example, like they'll only eat salads in the daytime, or they'll only have one latte on a weekend once a week, or they'll only have chocolate on special occasions, because they're playing defense. Because they're playing defense around not risking the ball going in the basket and them scoring against you. You're playing defense. When you play offense and you're scoring all of the time and you're playing a bit more freely and it's going in the basket and you're in the driving seat, you can do things that are going to progress you as opposed to just fear regression. I just recorded a podcast on why you should strength train, and I think the majority of reasons of like playing defense and offense is that those that just play defense don't really train that often. They don't really see progress within what they're doing in their health and fitness. And I would definitely encourage you to make sure that you are always looking for progress forwards. Now, it's an easy psychological fallacy to get into, which is that I don't need anymore, I don't need to progress anymore, I'm just happy where I'm at, or I don't think I can do anymore, or I'm content where I'm at. And maintenance and staying in shape happens because there's a constant striving for progress, not just hyper focusing on maintenance. If you focus on maintenance for the next 20 years of your life, you will always regress, because if you're not progressing, you're regressing. There's no middle ground. And that's the biggest fallacy of maintenance that we teach our clients, is like, you need to always progress doing something so that you don't fall victim to going backwards. So that's why strength training, that's why progressing with some areas of your life is really important, to always opt for just playing defense with your maintenance, or of just playing defense with losing the weight and then keeping it off and never wanting to gain it back again. At some point, if you're not progressing, you're regressing. And the easiest way to navigate this is targets around your exercise, your strength, because it's a focus away from your body. It's a focus away from your nutrition, and it's more controllable per se. So you setting a target of going for a 5k run and then doing a 10k run 6 months later and do maybe a charity run or the London Marathon or the half marathon or the Tough Mudders, they're always progressions because you're working towards something and you're playing offense. You're working towards scoring in that basket of the Tough Mudder or scoring in the basket of that 10k and doing it and completing it. Whereas if you never attempted any of that type of stuff, you had no goals, it's just a miserable existence of just staying still. And I think our brains love cognitive, like some form of stress and then some form of reward, because we've worked hard through resilience or whatever it is, and then we've gained an output from it. So as you go through your maintenance and as you go through your journey, it's the easiest thing to do is just to progress and find out what you enjoy to navigate that. Now, if you've never tried any sort of progress and you've never, not a gym person, and you're not a gym goer and you don't like resistance trainings, I think the easiest thing to look at is like, I don't think you don't like resistance training. I think there is a isolated issue within this that can be solved that will allow you to then get the benefits from it. So like, for example, let me break it down. Strength training is the easiest one to go for because it's repeatable, it's consistent, it's the least cost effective, and it's the one with the most bang for the bucks that is most readily available for most people. Resistance strength training can be done anywhere, outside of the house, inside the house, at the gym, in the park, in the woods, with bands, with weights, with trainers, with your friends, with extra weights around your hands. You can strength train wherever. Most people just have an isolated issue that they have an issue with that then ruins their ability to play progress as opposed to defense. So for example, if you don't like training because it's boring, let's isolate that issue and say what specifically is boring. Because not everything in the gym is. So are you telling me the music's boring? Are you telling me that the guy next to you is running on the treadmill is boring? Are you telling me that the machines are boring? How can machines be boring? They're machines, they're metal. What specific part of a strength training process or going to the gym is boring for you? And it's like, then they normally come with the answer of like, it's the bit when I'm doing the exercise, I just find it repetitive and boring. Okay, so in between 1 and 10, it's boring. Okay, so that means that there is no meaning to the reason why you're going from 1 to 10. So then we look at, that's the reason why you need to progress, is because if you go from 1 to 10 with no meaning and you're just doing it to get it done, then there's no benefit had there. Whereas if you looked at it as, hey, the goal between 1 and 10 is to test yourself to go to 11 or 12. Can you try and do more than what you did last week with a heavier weight and test yourself to increase that number over time? And most people who find gyms boring haven't done progress in the gym. They've just tried exercises and repeated it time and time again with the same weight. Anyway, I'm saying all of this to get to that point where it's like everyone's playing defense and we want to play offense, because the next 20 years you're going to need to train and you're going to need some sort of progression going forwards. So if you can get to a point where training in the gym becomes something of, I'm attaining towards a goal. Now there's 3 types of goals when it comes to training or strength training. You have competition, you have skill-based goals, and then you have numbers-based goals. So competition is when you're training to compare with someone else in a sport or in a something else. So for example, like I go to the gym so that I can be a faster swimmer, or I go to the gym to be faster at 5-a-side football with the lads. I go to the gym and do my strength training to win the dad's race at the school sports day. That's competition. Or Brazilian jiu-jitsu or something like that. Then you've got your skill-based elements. So I go to the gym to learn new skills. So for example, learning a new skill is like the downward dog in yoga. You learn a new skill, you go back again to get better at that skill. If you go to the gym to never done a press-up before and you go in the gym to improve your press-ups and do a press-up, then you're going for a skill-based exercise. If you're trying to work towards your first pull-up or the completion of doing a back squat and going down all the way to the bottom and doing that for 10 reps at 60 kilos, that would be a skill. And you're learning little small things like that over time. You can go in for skills. And then at the same time is that you have progress, and the feeling of progress and the feeling of your numbers going towards set numbers that you have set out. So you make arbitrary numbers like 60 kilos or 80 kilos for 10 or 5 kilos for 50, 10 kilos for 5. Whatever those numbers are, you're working towards arbitrary numbers. Now, most people have a problem with this one because they don't find any meaning in the number that they set. So, for example, most people get to the point where, why am I pushing for 10 kilos of 10 reps on that weight? Why is that of a benefit? And I think when you're looking at playing offense, instead of defense. It's the meaning that needs to be understood, not the action. So is there any benefit of you doing 10 more at 10 kilos realistically? No. But by having the made up meaning and you're striving for something, you then become consistent, you then are motivated, you then are working hard in the gym. And that's the meaning. The meaning is that you set a target, so all these other things fall into place that allows you to then keep on doing that over time. And most people who don't have meaning towards their strength training, just playing defense and going for going's sake and getting attached to numbers and skills and competition, will allow this thing to happen, and you constantly moving towards something for 15, 20 years as you go through your aging process, as you go through strength training and being part of that health and fitness, healthy lifestyle type of vibe. So as much as you don't need to look forwards and move forwards once you've attained some goals, it's the thing that keeps it going. Because like I said before, is if you don't progress, you will regress at some point. And you can't progress with your nutrition. You can't add things and build it up over time, because that's not how nutrition works. Nutrition is like, you can get better at having different types of foods, different recipes, and sure, you can progress on these sides of things, but they all have small infinite times. Like over the next 5 years, you're probably going to use 10, 15 recipes, 15, 20 recipes max, and then that's going to be ticked off and completed. You can always increase your steps to 10, 11, 12, 13, 15. You always find a cap on that, but relative to time. Whereas the one thing within the health and fitness is anything to do with the gym or the fitness side of things. You don't have to go to the gym to do this. You could just do the 5Ks, the couch to 5Ks. Then you could run that from 5 to 10Ks. Then you could run twice a week, 3 times a week. You could set a bigger goal of 15K or 20K or half marathon, a marathon. And if you love that stuff, then you can push that forwards too. And that always ever present push provides progress. And with that progress, to do the half marathon, for example, you would need to get up early 3-4 days a week to do the training. You would need to eat properly to support yourself for those marathons. You would need to get to bed on time. You would need to go to the gym to support those sessions. You would need to drink your water to do those things. And by proxy of this goal that down the line might not actually care about it too much, you've created a stable mind for all the processes that you wanted in your life anyway. And it's a big bang for your buck. Because with one goal, 8 things have happened because of it. Whereas if you didn't have that big goal, what happens to your training and the reason to get out of bed? What happens to the nutrition side of things and the reason to do nutrition? What happens if you hit 2 to 3 less water? No ramifications happen because you have less water, because you've got no goal to work towards, so you don't notice any difference. And it slowly declines and declines over time until there is a ramification, and then you have to start on the wheel again, which then is harder, and then you start pushing forwards again and then tapering off again. So I just wanted to do a small thing, because I also had been feeling this too, because I'm the same. Like, I've always done training for vanity. So like my 20s were, how big can I get? How lean can I get? How great do I look on a beach type of thing. And as I'm moving into my 30s now, I've trained for 10 to 15 years for vanity. And, I got to the point 4 weeks ago actually, where I was like, I just don't want to go to the gym. What is the point in going to the gym? And I was scratching my head. I didn't go to the gym for a few weeks. I was like, what's going on here? Like, why am I not motivated by this? Why is that not a desire for me? And then I came to this statement, and I was like, I'm playing defense. I'm not playing offense. And I've not set a goal for my training or anything for a while because of my knee and stuff like that. I've got valid reasons to do so, but there's still reasons that I can overcome. And I just haven't played offense with myself for a while. So I realized that was something that is ever present within people's journeys. And the longer that you go to the gym for, the more prevalent it will become that this will become as something that you need to think about. Because the longer you go to the gym for vanity reasons, the more you'll get bored of it over time. And the less you go for vanity reasons, the more you'll be inspired by it for the strength training and the benefits, the progress and the skill development, the competition. So it's one of those where actually the longer you do it for, the longer you realize that it is a potential area to work on. So another area that makes you play progress with this as well is how this performance and progress leads into other areas of your life. So when you're playing defense, you're just thinking nutrition and training or exercise is separate to the rest of your life. You're thinking, if I just control that over there, that's fine, and I'll just do everything else over here. But when you're playing offense and you want this to last and progress forwards, often a meaning around the meaning of the 5Ks, the 10Ks, the strength training, the bench presses, the things that you're going to work on, the skill development, the competition, the strength progress, they work really, really well in tandem with work. and how you act personally and how your elements are in other bubbles of your life. Most people's isn't a standalone bubble over here. That's what the people that are just regressing will have, a standalone bubble of nutrition, training and exercise. It's just over here somewhere. Whereas the people that do this for 20 years and 30 years and progress and actually maintain long term will have like personal and health and fitness in the middle, health and fitness. And then the branches off from this are business, life, work, relationships, in this outside tandem. And that if you can correlate the progress of your health and fitness and your personal goals with what happens in your business, are you getting more productive at work because of the other stuff that you're working towards? Most people's carryover, if they're hunting and chasing for something in work or hunting for chasing something in their personal life, it will carry over into the mindset of what they have at work. They become more dedicated, more productive, more driven towards a specific subset that they've got going on there. Their relationships will get better because they're being more progressive with them. They're thinking the effort that they can put in, because once you do it in one place in your own health and fitness, it will carry on elsewhere. I know that even when I go for this walk now with Millie in the morning, I go now for 2 walks with her. Just because I've opted to increase my level of fitness and go out for more, our conversations are better, our relationship is easier, it's better. But when you isolate them and you don't think one matters into the other, that's when it is actually bleeding in, because you're not being your best self, you're not being the best version of yourself, which combines everything together. So I've wrote it down on my whiteboard in there, which is like progressive performance, and I want my day-to-day to reflect that I want to make progress in all areas. So I'll have my whiteboard in there, I'll have my nutrition set up, my meal plan, I'll have my training sessions locked in, I'll have my diary schedulized, I'll have what I'm doing for my mindset, I'll have what I'm doing for my water and what I'm doing for my routine, and I'll have all those things together, because if I treat them as all together, then they all progress. If I treat them as separate, I might get really good with my fucking work, but then it doesn't have a carryover into my life or my relationships or my health and fitness. And that's where you see really, really fat, overweight CEOs, because they put just one area of progress on their life all of the time in that one area, and the rest of them fell apart. Whereas the modern CEO, the modern entrepreneur, the guys that are in the 20s, the likes of the Stephen Bartletts and, the Alex Hormozis and all these other people, they are... I know all these like people in their 30s that have like made millions before that and probably learned it along the way. They realize that your health and fitness and the way that you act with your body all relates back to every other area of your life and how you train and go to the gym. Not all these guys are like super shredded, but they are focusing on their health and fitness and training and exercising and some form of nutrition to get a better advantage with other areas of their life. And that's the progress versus offense versus defense. If you're playing defense all the time, you're not thinking about how I can get better. You're thinking about, can I keep hold of what I've got? But what people forget is, and I'll leave you with this one, is that if you don't progress forwards, you're always going to regress. So no matter how hard you try and hold on to that maintenance, no matter how hard you hold on to where you are right now, life will always regress if you aren't making progress. And that's why you need to put more meaning on being progressive in something to avoid the regression. But I think finding your own thing is super important, and not just thinking, he's telling me to go to the gym and lift more weights and more weights and more weights and more weights. It's like, no, do something that you enjoy and that you see of health and physical benefit and that you can progress in, and just progress in it. So if you like netball, go and play netball 3 days a week, and then go to the gym twice a week to get better at netball. And then when you've played netball those 3 days a week, when you get better, score more goals, and then play for a better team. And then when you play for a better team or move up the ranks, then you get more competitive, then you go to the gym more often, and before you know it, you're doing more than you were before. And you can do that in any area that you've got as well. So guys, have a great week.